My studio is a really sacrosanct space. I don't ever really have anybody in here. This is a very special space on the planet to me. The light is incredible. My husband designed it. It holds a lot of inspiration. And I brought a lot of pieces and artifacts from around the world, from Mexico, from Tibet, from Nepal, various places. I actually got a singing bowl, and then I still do that, and I ring it 3 times. And basically what I'm doing is I'm blessing the space of the canvas, and then I'm blessing the room, and I turn, and then finally I bless myself and the relationship to that painting. Nature is probably my biggest inspiration, because it's ever-changing and never remains the same, just like us. I'd say there are 3 things that hold the gift of magic for me from Ireland. And it is the light, the ever-shifting light, and the sea, the wide, wild sea, and the internal sense of peace that I get in between those 2 worlds. My mother is a painter, and she very kindly taught me how to paint in watercolor. And the following year, she was having an exhibition, so she said, why don't you put a couple of your watercolors in? And this important Canadian collector came along who collected my mother's work as well, and said to me, you paint like you're Asian, you better go study. So I looked up Japanese painting and I went and took a course. Sumie, it's called. It literally means black ink. The study of sumie. That brushstroke is as normal as breathing to me. I think the design and the composition and the whole sensibility of what it has brought into my life is still quite powerful and very formative. It has given rise to my voice. Later on, you are allowed to use color, but it always has to be 60% black ink, so you have to maintain that. And so all these 2 things kind of married together, and my love of color and my love of rhythm and design kind of came through. But if you look at most of my work, you'll still always see some black in there, just to punctuate, to kind of boost and to startle the eye. When the eye is trying to make sense of something, color becomes more vibrant. I'll say just an Asian philosophy. Everything they do has a meaning. There's a reason you're doing it. You might not even know the reason, but when you discover that this is why you're placing this color first and this goes on, juxtaposes on top of this, you realize that this is part of the whole tradition. What you do with one hand, you do the opposite with the other. So I do a lot of that in my work with pushing and pulling the eye. I paint from my heart. I paint from what's real to me. It's a wonderful thing because you can access it at any time. Since it's not a photograph, it's a memory. It's there in your being. It's not what you're seeing, it's what you're feeling. Some of the collectors have pieces from different times in my life. You know, that's a deep honor, and they're living with that. I mean, I always like to think of that. They're having Christmas and birthdays and fights and parties, and my piece is with them. It's part of their story. And that's, gosh, I guess that's one of the real unseen pleasures of being a painter. It's not just the painting that gives me deep pleasure. It's the connection with another human being who also feels what I feel when I'm creating that painting.